here's our TSN Hockey insider, Bob McKenzie. What's up, Bob?
I saw O's reference to Tam O'Shanter. It made me laugh because on the rare occasions when I was a teenager, if I ever went golfing, and I didn't even have my own clubs, I would just rent them. It would be at the Tam O'Shanter.
Oh, yeah.
I could spray it onto Kennedy Road. I could spray it onto Birchmount. I was equal opportunity spraying it all over Agent Court.
Isn't it the best? That first tee box, if you hook it 20 yards, it's on the road.
Yeah, it's on Kennedy Road.
It's on Kennedy. Yeah, it's a great course, though. I'm the same way. I'd go up there as a teenager and feel like I actually knew what I was doing. It was great.
Exactly. But see, Tam O'Shanter was like the center of everything because it had like a fantastic hockey rink that unfortunately burned to the ground. I remember very clearly the day in my youth when we heard the news that the Tam O'Shanter Hockey Arena, which had some of the best ice I've ever skated on, it burned down, and there was a
Bobby,
curling
by
club.
the way, what's with the name? What the hell is Tam O'Shanter? And it sounds like an Irish pub.
Well, it's obviously a Scottish name. It's Tam, T-A-M, and then O apostrophe S-H-A-N-T-E-R. So I'm not sure specifically on what that was, but we used to, give you some idea how old I am. In the summer, me and my buddies, I lived directly south of where you guys are right now. I lived right off of McCowan Road, but south of Ellesmere and not as far as Lawrence. But anyways, from there up to Kennedy and Shepherd, which is basically where the Tam was, we used to hitchhike in the summer, and they had a huge outdoor pool. And that was like every day in the summer we would hitchhike or take the bus up to Tam O'Shanter and go swimming there in the summer. It was like the Caddyshack of my existence.
Hitchhiking. Would you ever think of
That's an old school move.
So Noodles kid, when they get a little bit older, they're going, hey, Noodler, you don't mind? Mom says it's okay if we hitchhike to downtown Toronto.
I used to listen when I used to drive from Lethbridge to Calgary and Lethbridge to Edmonton. It's a long drive. I used to pick up hitchhikers once in a while.
I did too. I thought nothing of it. I'd just look and be like, nah, that guy looks like a good guy. What the hell? And I'm sure that's how people end up buried in a ditch because they're just like, seems like a good guy. What the hell?
Because there's been no horror movies done on the premise of picking up the wrong hitchhiker.
No
I know.
kidding. Well, Noodles, didn't you say that, and I've seen the documentary, but you watched it a lot closer, the Iceman, that Ted Kuklinski or whatever.
Yeah, Richard Kuklinski.
He just went up and down the eastern seaboard killing people.
Well, but yeah.
It's not funny, but that's literally what he was doing. It's not funny
because I would literally look and be like, seems like a good guy. And where you want to go?
Richard Kuklinski was 6'6", 300 pounds, and had a skullet. Like, he was one of the scariest looking men you've ever. If you see him at the side of the road and he's putting his thumb out, you
hit him.
Yeah, you run him over.
Drive.
You don't. Like, to me, I never preyed on anybody. I would just.
Obviously, I hope
no.
not.
What I'm saying is you just that person looks like they're going, like the sign would be like going to Calgary, going to going to Brooks, going this way. So you just grab them in conversation, and an hour later you drop them off. Like, it seemed to be back then. It seemed to be very harmless. Nowadays, you wouldn't even think about doing it.
And I would say very occasionally, as in once or twice a year, I see some guy at the side of the road hitchhiking, and I'm like, who's picking him up?
No kidding. No kidding. I can't believe the three of you have done it.
I used to pull a greasy move with my brother sometimes. You'd pull over and put the flicker on, and they'd start running towards your truck, and then you just drive off and leave them in the dust. It was so greasy. So greasy.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's so gutless,
They'd just be eating the smoke, and you're just like, see you later.
I've been out there for 3 days. Someone finally picked them up.
And the look on their face when they realized you were pulling away, it was just devastating. I feel awful even saying that.
I can't believe the three of you have taken part in jumping in other people's cars.
No, I never hitched
people
just
up.
picking people up.
Yeah.
Well, in the late 60s, early 70s, when we were doing this, it was the most common mode of transportation because the McCowan 16 bus would only come about every 25 minutes, it seemed. But it wasn't like it is now where it's roaring up and down McCowan. So
I'll tell you
wait
what,
a good
Bobby,
long time.
I go up to 400 a lot, Collingwood, Scarborough, and you see the odd guy, and you just look at him and say, not a chance in hell anyone is picking you up. Like, no way.
Right. Yeah, they're still out there. You see every once in a while, you see someone that's trying to get in a car.
I know, but you feel like a good Samaritan would do that. The problem is you're a good Samaritan and you end up, something bad can happen about it.
Yeah, you end up in Buffalo Bill's pit in his basement, and it's game over.
Exactly. It's not good. But
just for hitchhiking. Well, the Tam O'Shanter it's I can't believe it's still around, but it is. I'll bet you they make money. Like the city, they own all 5 courses, like Don Valley, and there's a bunch of them, and it got me thinking about a course called Remington Parkview, which is up kind of north of the city as well. And it's got a bunch of. Have you played it, Bob?
Parkview on Steeles Avenue.
Parkview on Steeles. Yeah, and it's got all the power.
That was our secondary course. If we didn't go to Tam O'Shanter when we were a little more advanced, a little older, we go to Parkview. We thought that was like Augusta.
Oh, it was a great course for a public course. I think it might have had 27 holes too. I think it might still have 27. But they have a bunch of towers, like these power towers, kind of all over the course. So every 10 minutes, you'd hear some guy just fire a golf ball off one of those towers, and it would just permeate the whole course. Like you could hear it from all over the course that some guy just sliced one right off a tower, and that's when you knew you were playing public golf somewhere in the city of Toronto. But yeah, I haven't been up there. Apparently, Bubba Watson plays that course from time to time.
Wow.
Yeah, Bubba's been spotted up there because his wife is from, I think, the area or from the GTA anyway. Yeah, so he'll just go cruise out there and play Parkview. It's pretty wild. Yeah. With Bob McKenzie, our hockey insider. So what's the latest, Bob? We ask you every couple of days, but any reason for more optimism today compared to Tuesday, or what?
Well, I mean, in terms of overall big picture, the league's continuing. More things are opening up, and each passing day here, and the league is going to take that optimistic tack that we're going to try and get something done here. So who knows if they get roadblocks along the way, but the plan is in place, and they've got to work at it. So, but Pierre LeBrun reported on Insider Trading today that the Return to Play Committee, which is the NHL and the NHLPA and some players, I believe they've met 2 times already this week, and they're going to meet a 3rd time. So what that tells you is they're really trying to drill down hard on what are we coming back to? Is it 24 teams? Is it 20? How would the format work? Okay, what exactly is going to be the situation in terms of the safety and the health issues? Because, to which Darren Dreger reported as a follow-up to what Pierre said, there's more agents and more players that are really starting to, as it gets closer, and maybe becoming more reality. We don't know for sure, but maybe becoming more reality. Now they're starting to ask harder questions. Well, wait a second here. How long am I going to be separated from my family? What is the plan? Where are we staying? Well, what are the safety measures? What are the health risks? And so that might bog the process down even further, because I think we've all started on the initial premise, well, the players are on board with whatever the league's going to do, but they still haven't hashed all that out. So, it's a negotiation. And there's also the bigger issue, the broader financial issue, and Greg's touched on this in Insider Trading as well, is that some of these players are saying, yeah, okay, we'll come back and play, and we'll risk this or we'll risk that, but we need to know what's going on here with escrow for next year. We need to know, what about the CBA extension? We're not just going to – there are some players, I don't know how many, but there are some players who are saying, we're not going in this on blind faith, saying, oh, yeah, we need to get the games back on, we need to get the hockey back, unless we know exactly what the rollout is going to be, not just for the summer and the fall, but what's it going to mean a year from now financially, and how much is it going to be out of my pocket in escrow, and what are we got a CBA extension, and those sorts of things, which could really potentially further gum up the works and one more hurdle to potentially overcome, although that's for the PA to sort out with its internal membership and then come back to the table with the league at the return to play. So that's kind of the lead items on Insider Trading. I followed up and talked about the June draft, and what I basically said was it's not dead, but it may well be on life support. No final decision will be made until next week, and technically because no final decision is being made till next week, it could still go either way. But the reality is the league is starting to, I think, come to the realization that the time, effort, and all the political goodwill that it would be required to make more teams happy about the June draft might just be, a bridge too far. And that this is not a hill to die on, the June draft. So right now, the pessimism needle on the June draft is much stronger than the optimism needle, but I should caution that no decision has been made and probably won't be until next week.
Well, what's interesting about that, Bob, is that has nothing to do with the Players Association, would it? Like the idea of the June draft, or is that just their own guys?
Here's the thing. Ultimately, the PA basically has to sign off on everything because the draft, the reason the draft is a legal entity, as I understand it, is because it's collectively bargained between the players and the league. So anything that's part of the collective bargaining agreement, if you're going to change something radically about it, then you could debate whether or not, to the letter of the law, the league has to have permission. But I don't think the June draft is a hot button issue for the Players Association, as much as it is all those other things we talked about. So I think the league feels, pretty comfortable that if they decided to proceed with the June draft, they're not going to get huge pushback from the PA, and in fact, the pushback is coming from their own owners or general managers.
Well, I had another conversation with the Quizmaster this morning, and I guess they're coming out, with the all-time Team Canada.
Team Canada, yeah.
I'm sure you were involved in that, Bob, and he's got a couple of spicy meatballs in there again. I love it. But it's going to be good.
Oh, yeah. You know what? The guy is the biggest masochist in the world because him and Button just finished, 7 teams over two plus weeks.
Yeah, you would think they want a break.
Of just getting abused. So much so, the Quizmaster doesn't keep a very high public profile at all. In fact, he tends to not. I can't even count how many interviews he's done on radio stations across Canada because he's desperately trying to either do damage control or defend the various selections that he and Craig made on all these things. So they finally get through it. They're battered, bruised, but, unbowed. And you think, okay, there you go. Good job, guys. Well done. You survived it. Now we got to do Team Canada.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Team Canada, it's even more difficult to do Team Canada because it's nebulous. Because what you're going to end up with is you're going to end up with somebody on the team who had one unbelievable international tournament. It was the best player in one tournament. And then you're going to have some guy that's been at a gazillion world championships and played on some Olympic teams, and he's not going to be there, and people are going to lose their minds.
Yeah, there's one guy, I've been privy to the list, one guy on the team I've never heard of before. That's all I'm going to say. There's a guy on Team Canada's all-time team.
Never heard of?
I had
Unless
never
he's
heard
from
of him.
1922 or something.
No, he's
no, because it's only team. It's basically 72 to the present, is it not?
I believe he may have snuck into the 60s, and the way it was described to me.
I know who it is.
You know
I know who it is, and you're right. Okay.
I gotta say, guys, watching that '87 Canada Cup, I think that I know my hockey players and have watched so much hockey, but I watched that D-man Rochefort, and I'm
Norman Rochefort.
I was like, who in the hell is that guy? I said that. I'm like, I've never heard of that guy in my life. He had this cookie duster, a big left D-man. I never saw that man in my life.
I played with him.
It was like a brand new player for me. Never heard of him.
Yeah, he had a big cookie duster, and he was very male pattern baldness.
He had a great tournament.
He could hit like a freight train. I played in the minors. Could you picture this? I get to Denver, Colorado, the Denver Grizzlies. Norman Rochefort and Doug Crossman are the two defensemen there. It was unreal. Like Doug Crossman and Norman Rochefort. These guys have played.
Wasn't Gordy Dineen there too?
Gordy Dineen was there. Our defensive core, Jeff Sharples was the first rounder to Detroit. We were in the IHL. We rinsed that whole league. And I was only there for the last 4 games of the regular season. I got sent down during that lockout year. And that team was an NHL team in the minors. It was ridiculous. And Norman Rochefort was on that team. He was unreal.
Well, and the controversy in that 87 Canada Cup, a lot of it was Al McInnes and Scott Stevens, who were relative, young guys at the time, but they both finished, I think, that year. That following season, following the 87 Canada Cup, I think I read where Stevens and McInnes finished in the top 6 or 7 in Norris balloting, and they didn't make the team, but Rochefort and Doug Crossman did. And, and that's Mike Keenan. Obviously, he didn't want just the best defenseman. He wanted a team, and he wanted a big body that could play that physical game and with experience. And took a guy like Rochefort over Stevens and some others.